It started with a flicker, a tiny, almost imperceptible dimming of every light in my house, at precisely 3:57 a.m., 3 nights in a row. Not a second earlier, not a second later. Just enough to send a chill down my spine and make my smart fridge emit a confused beep like it was offended by the voltage drop. I tried to brush it off as a glitch, a fluke, some harmless anomaly, but by the third night, I knew something was wrong. That morning I went outside in my robe, flashlight in hand, and tripped over something cold and humming in the dew-soaked grass. Barefoot, I crouched to inspect it. A black extension cord buried, just beneath the surface, running across my lawn, taut and sealed with weatherproof tape. It disappeared beneath the fence into Karen's yard, the woman from next door who had always preached about eco-responsibility while revving her luxury SUV like she was racing a NASCAR. I tugged at the cord gently. It resisted, taut and deliberately, hidden beneath her ivy and weatherproof seals. The realization hit me like a punch. She was stealing my solar power. Not just a little, but enough to drain my batteries overnight. My heart hammered. This wasn't coincidence, it was theft. Planned, calculated, deliberate. That night I stayed up watching my solar log spike at 3:57 a.m. every night. A subtle, predictable drain. Someone was siphoning my energy, quietly without my knowledge under the cover of darkness. My security cameras only stared at the driveway, useless for catching her sneaking around the side yard. I reset the breaker, muttered curses and brewed more coffee. Then I marched to her door. Karen opened it, looking like she'd just rolled out of bed, silky robe, oversized sunglasses, a fake smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Before I say a word," she said, voice sharp and icy, "I saw the... Notice, the solar glare from your house is violating the neighborhood standards. You'll be fined." Fined. The word echoed in my mind. I'd bought this house for peace, for privacy. No HOA, no meddling neighbors, just me and my solar panels. I stared at her cold. "Karen, why is there an extension cord running from my house into your garage?" Her eyes flicked away, then she offered a laugh that sounded more like a bark. "Oh, honey, that's not stealing. That's just borrowing. We all share the sunlight, don't we?" I nearly lost my breath. Sharing the sunlight? She acted so casual, so confident, as if siphoning my power was just a neighborly gesture like borrowing sugar. "That's theft," I growled. "Illegal. And I could call the police right now." Her smile sharpened. "This neighborhood has standards, and your fancy panels stick out. Besides, I'm part of the Neighborhood Energy Awareness Committee." "Fake," I said, voice cold. "That's not a real thing." "It is now," she snapped, then shut the door in my face. I stood there, stunned, feeling the anger simmer beneath my skin. She had crossed a line, she was stealing my energy, and she was pretending to be some eco-saint while doing it. Later that night I checked the logs again. The drain was real. Every night like clockwork. I looked at the footage I'd rigged, small markers, reflective strips, trying to catch her in the act. Sure enough, at 3:57 a.m., her fence panel opened just enough, a hidden flap sliding out. I saw her wave at the camera she thought was hidden, holding a steaming mug, acting innocent. Her porch lights flickered on, powered by my solar, while she pretended to be an eco-warrior. That was the moment I decided. I wouldn't confront her directly anymore. No shouting, no accusations, just a plan. I called it Operation Overcharge. I gathered every piece of evidence, logs, footage, her social media boasting about her independent solar setup. I built a digital dossier, tracking her every move, every illegal hookup. She had fabricated a neighborhood committee, printed fake fines, even sent notices to herself, an ego trip disguised as community service. And I watched her day after day escalating her theft. She upgraded from extension cords to hidden inverters, camouflaged panels, and even fake brochures about her shared solar projects, pretending she was leading a revolution when she was just leeching off my system. Then, one evening, I set my trap. My system was configured to send a safe, brief surge, just enough to trip her illegal setup, cause a blackout, and get her red-handed. I waited with my camera rolling. When the clock struck 3:57 again, the lights dimmed, and outside, her humming cord jerked violently, sparks flickered, her house went dark. I watched her stumble out in her neon green bathrobe, eyes wide with panic, trying to figure out what had just happened. The footage was perfect. Her house blacked out, her face caught in the glow of her own chaos. I kept the tapes, the logs, everything. I wasn't in a rush. This was just the beginning. I knew her pattern now. She was stealing, lying, manipulating. But I was ready. The next day I played innocent. I approached her with a fake permit, claiming I was conducting a neighborhood audit. She looked nervous but played her part. I took photos of her fake panels, her hidden inverter, her hastily concealed wiring. She tried to pretend she was testing, a hybrid backup, an excuse that fell flat. That night I triggered another surge, this time more aggressive. Her entire system shorted out. Her house went dark again, and her face appeared on my footage, confused, cornered, defeated. I called it Karen's Solar Safari. It was her own discovery, her own hubris catching her in the act. I uploaded the footage anonymously, viral material. The world saw her, caught red-handed, bragging about her sustainable empire, while secretly siphoning power. The fallout was swift. The neighborhood buzzed. Local authorities stepped in. Utility crews showed up, unannounced, inspecting her setup. They found the illegal connections, the fake panels, her fraudulent notices. She tried to deny everything, but the evidence was too overwhelming. The city issued fines, ordered her to dismantle her setup. Her fake committee was exposed as a sham. Her social media vanished overnight, replaced by silence and shame. And she disappeared. No more neighborhood speeches, no more eco-pretenses. Just a lonely, overgrown yard and a for sale sign that went up quietly, as if she'd given up. The last time I saw her, she was carrying boxes into a moving truck, eyes downcast. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She just left, leaving, behind the illusion of control. That night I found a note in my garden, folded and weighted down by a stone. It was her handwriting, simple and raw. I thought I was smart. I thought I was helping. I was only feeding my ego. I hope this thing gives you a laugh someday. No signature, just her admission. An apology maybe, or just a confession. And then she was gone. Her house sat empty, her illusions shattered. The neighborhood breathed a quiet sigh of relief. No more stolen wattage, no more lies. The lights in my house stayed steady, my solar system humming peacefully, power restored, secrets revealed. Because sometimes the brightest light isn't just the sun. It's the truth that finally burns through the darkness. I watched the footage again, eyes glued to the screen, heart pounding. Karen's figure appeared in the darkness, clumsy, frantic, trying desperately to hide something behind her ivy-covered fence. The moment her flashlight flickered, I knew I had her. The cord jerked violently, sparks flickered, and her house plunged into darkness. A sharp crack echoed in the quiet night, and then silence. I stayed silent, watching her stumble outside in her neon green bathrobe, eyes wide with panic, trying to figure out what just happened. Her hands fumbled as she checked her smart devices, her face twisting in confusion and rage. The footage caught everything, the smoke curling from her broken cord, the frantic kick of her garden gnome, her desperate attempt to reattach the wiring. I didn't smile. Not yet. I just pressed rewind and watched her thrash helplessly again. This was my moment. Her own recklessness, her arrogance, had handed me the perfect proof. In the morning, she played it cool, sweeping her driveway as if nothing had happened. The extension cord was gone. No trace. If I hadn't recorded everything, I'd doubt it myself. But I had her on camera, and her face as she stared at her darkened house told me she'd just realized she'd been caught. I waited until she was outside again, pretending to do chores, then slipped to her fence with a small device I'd secretly installed. It was a simple trigger, just enough to cause her illegal inverter to overload, to fry her setup once and for all. I hit the button, Within seconds, her house flickered, then went dark. The same look of horror and disbelief flashed across her face, frozen in the moment she knew her game was up. Sparks danced in the shadows, and her panic was palpable. I stood back, watching her scramble as her house remained black, powerless, exposed. She tried to flip switches, reset her system, but nothing responded. The silence was deafening. I had finally shut her down. I didn't need to gloat. I just kept the footage, the logs, the evidence. This was her endgame. Her ego, her lies, all unraveling in the dark, and I was the one who pulled the trigger. But that was just the beginning. I knew she'd come back, try to rebuild, so I prepared my next move, adding a temporary surge buffer, a hidden camera, and a motion-activated spotlight. I wanted her to walk right into her own trap again, to see her chaos reflected in my footage. Night fell. The clock struck 3:57 again. Lights dimmed. Outside, her humming cord jerked violently once more, sparks flickered. Her house went dark. The camera captured her wide-eyed, frantic dash outside, trying to understand what had happened. Her face illuminated by the flickering shadows. That's the image I'd keep forever. I watched her stumble, helpless, caught in her own web. Her house shuddered and shivered in the dark, and I knew I'd finally broken her illusion. And still, she didn't stop. She kept trying to hide her theft, upgrading her setup, camouflaging her wiring, pretending she was leading some eco-revolution. But I was ready. I had everything on lockdown. Every illegal connection, every fake notice, every boast she'd posted online. That night I triggered my final act, a brief but powerful surge. Her system shorted out, her house blacked out again. I saw her jump. In the footage, her eyes darting around, her hurried steps, her frantic attempts to fix what she'd broken. Her pride shattered in the glow of her own chaos. Her entire house was dead, silent, dark, the perfect picture of her own undoing. I didn't gloat. I just watched. I pressed save on the footage. This was her downfall, the moment she realized her ego was just a house of cards. And I knew I'd won. The moment her house went dark, I knew I had finally broken her. The flickering sparks, the smoke curling from the shredded cord, everything played out exactly as I had planned. I watched her in the footage, her face frozen in shock, eyes darting around in panic as her home became a shadow of itself. Her frantic movements trying to reset her smart devices only made her look more helpless. The house was dead, powerless, exposed, and utterly defeated. But I didn't stop there. I had one last move, one final piece of the puzzle that would leave her completely shattered. I activated a hidden script I'd secretly embedded in my system, a silent, invisible trap. It was a simple but deadly command. Every illegal connection she'd made, every fake notice, every boastful post, would be logged and sent to every relevant authority, along with her own words confessing her theft. And then, the unexpected happened. As her house plunged into darkness, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She fumbled to answer it, voice trembling as she heard the voice of a city official on the line, demanding her to explain the blackout. She stammered, tried to bluff her way out, but the recording of her own voice confessing the theft played, back loud and clear. Her face paled. Her hands trembled. The truth, out of her control, had just exploded in her face. All her lies, her fake committee, her staged eco-hero persona, they crumbled in an instant. The authorities arrived moments later, knocking on her door, flashing badges and hauling her out in handcuffs. But the real shocker came when I watched her face on the footage, caught between defiance and despair, realizing she was finally exposed, not just for stealing power, but for everything. Her lies, her manipulation, her fake authority, all of it was now public knowledge. Her reputation, her carefully crafted image, was gone in an instant. And then, the final twist. I received a message, an anonymous email, containing a single photo. It was her, sitting in a cold, empty room, staring at the wall, her eyes hollow. The caption, "The truth always finds a way." From that moment, I understood something profound. She had built her empire on lies, fueled by ego, greed, and desperation. But in the end, all her illusions shattered not by force but by her own hubris. Her house was just a shell now, a hollow monument to her arrogance. And I, standing in the quiet shadows, knew the truth. Power isn't just about energy. It's about control, about knowing when to strike and when to let the darkness do the work, for you. She thought she could steal the sun, but she only ended up fueling her own downfall, the brightest light of all shining on her exposed lies. Her story didn't end with her being hauled away. No, it became a legend, one whispered in the neighborhood, on the internet, in every corner where pride and deception collide, because sometimes the greatest power lies in the truth, and no matter how deep the darkness, the light will always find a way to burn through. And as I watched her vanish into the shadows of her own making, I realized that this wasn't just a victory. It was a lesson, a reminder that no one, no matter how clever, can hide forever from the truth. It always surfaces. Always. And when it does, it burns everything to the ground.